Okay, we're going to continue learning Kitzur. If anyone wants, we put some Kitzurs on the tables. Feel free to open up. We're up to Siman Gimel. Siman Gimel, which in the article edition over here is page number 20. And he continues with the halachais of wearing clothing. Levishas begadim. It's very interesting. You tell someone what halachas you're learning. You're learning the halachas of getting dressed. It sounds almost comical. Just put on your clothing. Like, what's so complicated? So he starts off over here, and it almost starts off with a little bit of a musar shmooze. He starts off, the number one is, Hatznei alachas im elokecha. You have to be modest. You have to be modest in the way you walk, in the way you talk, in the way you dress. And he continues to explain, number one, that when one gets dressed, there's a level of modesty in that as well. When one gets undressed, one gets redressed, he should be careful not to be exposed as little as possible. And he continues and he says, and continuing in Sif Beis really is where he talks about this more, is a very fascinating halacha, which we could tell many shirm on, is halachas of lo selchu b'chukas ha'goyim, which is incredible halachas. You're not allowed to follow in the ways of the goyim. It's a pasuk in the Torah. And really the question is, where does this apply nowadays? You know, the Paiskim talk about things as almost far-fetched as how we're allowed to wear a tie, how you're allowed to wear a jacket. These are quote-unquote goyish practices. Obviously, we know that we basically, in the simple meaning of it, we conform at some level. But he says over here, if the goyim were to wear, for example, red shoelaces and the Jews were to wear black shoelaces, then you wouldn't allow it to do the opposite. Obviously, I think we all know that the basic understanding is that, you know, I don't think there's one color shoelace which is particular to goyim or not. But and then Sif Gimel, he continues not to have overly expensive clothing, but also not overly tattered clothing. You don't want your clothing to fall off. But Sif Dalet, I like to read together over here. And Sif Dalet, he talks about the way to put on your shoes, which I think we've all learned as kids. And actually, they asked the Brisker Rav one time, what did you do for Klal Yisrael today? So you think the Brisker Rav, what did the Brisker Rav do? He learned, 18 hours straight, and he wrote, the Brisker Rav. So he explained, you know what I did today? I got up, and I washed my hands. And when I put on my shoes, I put on my right shoe before my left shoe. And when I put on my shirt, I put on my right hand before my left hand. And that's what he did. He was bringing out that diktuk in halacha, even to the smallest things. That's an incredible thing. So the Kitzur over here in Sif Dalet teaches us the yamin is chashuva b'Torah, the right is more chashiv. Where do we know this from? We know this from the Avodah, and the Beis Hamikdash is all done with the right hand, the right finger of the Kohen Gadol when it comes to tzaras, etc. By chalitza, it's done with the right foot. And therefore, Bilavisha, when it comes to getting dressed, and other dvarim as well, the right comes before the left. And when taking off, it's the opposite. Why when taking off is the opposite? Because when you take off your left shoe, you're giving chashivas to the right by taking off the left first. And similarly with regard to tying, it's the opposite. Why is tying the opposite? We all know you tie the left for the right. What's the reason? So the Kitzur over here explains, again, some things that maybe we all know, which comes to tying the tefillin. We're going to be tying them on our left arm. And that's the reason why we're going to tie the left before the right. Now the Kitzur learns this is by everything. If you're tying, I don't know what else you'd be tying. What else could you tie? I don't know. Maybe you have gloves that you tie? No? A bow. It's tefillin? No, they're talking about tefillin. A belt? No, we're talking about something that there's a right and left tying. I don't know. Other things that you tie as well. He says you should always tie the left. I guess gloves, if you have some sort of, I don't know. Knickers. The Chassidim, Avada. So when they tie it, you tie. We have to tell you tie. He says everything you tie the left before the right, and then he finishes off, and we'll stop with this in Sif A. He says, don't put on two articles of clothing at once, because it causes forgetfulness, kasha l'shicha, and maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow before we move.